You can't lose weight even if you eat organic, juice daily, or even work out all the time too. And this is because the truth is, weight loss doesn't start with food or with workouts. It starts with your gut. So today we are going to learn how to fix gut health for weight loss. But welcome to my channel if this is your first time. My name is Prewitt. And I'm a nervous system based personal trainer and online coach. I help women lose weight, eliminate pain, and heal from stress by regulating their nervous system. Because I get it. And I've been where you are, stuck first off, in joint pain, stressed to the max, and doing quote unquote everything right, but still not able to lose weight. And it was highly frustrating. And I just don't want people to experience this. So once I discovered how the nervous system affects fat loss, muscle building, literally everything changed. And that's what I'm here to share with you today. So if you are ready for weight loss that actually lasts, you're in the right place. So up until now, we've talked about quite a few things. So starting with the very first thing, if we start with our brain, when it comes to our nervous system, that's going to be our HPA axis. The next thing in our series that we talked about was insulin and blood sugar, how they relate, liver and detoxing. And then the last one that I did a couple weeks ago was the thyroid and how your thyroid plays an effect with your metabolism. And essentially how each one impacts weight loss. But here's the truth. Even if you've done all those things and optimized all those things, if your gut isn't functioning, you'll just stay stuck and uncomfortable, and nobody got time for that. Literally, nobody got time for that. So let's get into it. The gut and brain, they talk to each other, and they communicate via the vagus nerve. And it's quite fascinating because it's like a feedback loop. So our vagus nerve, if you don't remember, it starts at our brain and essentially kind of goes all the way down to our, to be crude, to our butt. But if we're talking about, okay, how does the vagus nerve have anything to do with healing the gut and making our gut optimized so we can lose weight? Well, let me tell you, man. It does a lot. So when we eat and there's food that enters our stomach, our vagus nerve is stimulated through the neurotransmitters. So there's two of them we're going to talk about today. There's ghrelin, which is I'm starving, man, feed me. And then there's leptin. Leptin is I'm full, I'm good, I ate, I don't need to eat anymore. So when we're dysregulated or when we're in fight or flight, our vagus nerve is not optimized it's not being optimized to the max. It's our bodies, for one, it's not focusing on digestion, rest, absorption, and elimination, which is what the gut does. What our body is focusing on instead is how are we going to get out of this stressful environment? What am I going to do to just get out of here? And so when this occurs, the signals that our body the signals that our vagus nerve is picking up from our body is not necessarily accurate. And one way in which this plays out, and keep with me because my brain can be all over the place. So everything connects together, right? So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So I'm going to tap in really quickly to mental and emotional because we're going to come right back. I promise. We're going to come right back. We're going to have a looping moment. Just like the vagus nerve and the gut brain, it's all looping. Okay, here we go. Fun fact. So serotonin is this beautiful neurotransmitter that our brain creates, or our body creates. But if you did not know, 90% of it is made in the gut. So if we are in a dysregulated state and our vagus nerve is not communicating with our brain as effectively, this connection is off. And like I said before, serotonin is that I feel good hormone. So I'm going to be happy. I'm not going to have irritability or anxiety. I'm not going to be stressed. I'm going to be more calm, right? The vagus nerve is all about, hey, let's chill out. So, for example, if we don't or if we're not producing a lot of serotonin because we're in this dysregulated state, and 90% of it is made in the gut, no matter what you do, so let's say take that 10%, if you're trying to do it naturally and if you're not taking exogenous hormones to get that through medication, you're gonna be in the sunlight, you're gonna be drinking water, you're gonna be out and about, you can meditate, whatever, do all the things to naturally increase your serotonin levels, but it's only 10%. It's negligible considering that 90% comes from your gut. So what your body's gonna do unconsciously, if you're not aware, is say, hey, how can we get more serotonin? How can we make more? Oh, let's signal ghrelin, the hunger signal, to get some more serotonin. And what's the easiest way to get serotonin? Carbs, sugar, sometimes fat. So if you notice, if you're stressed out, if you have anxiety, you can't sleep, your body's probably gonna signal like, bro, eat, have some serotonin, man. And if we're in a dysregulated state, our brain and our gut are not connected, right? And so we're constantly being signaled, hey, eat more carbs, sugar, fat. And then even though we quote unquote could be full, or if we're ignoring these signals because we're so dysregulated, this is where we're gonna have digestion issues. This is where we're gonna bloat, retain more water, could get lethargic and sleepy, and then ultimately that's going to cause weight gain, right? Because we're just consuming more. But the crazy thing is, because we're not getting this leptin signal of, hey, like, you don't need to eat, you don't need to do whatever. It's just this horrible like feedback loop within our bodies unconsciously. Two, as well, if we're gonna speak of it in a more like emotional aspect, this is where shame cycles occur, is because you're not understanding, why do I keep on going back to this food? Why do I keep on coping like this? Well, it's because unconsciously your body is trying to help itself, but you're not realizing why your body is doing that. So instead of using other coping mechanisms to help you to regulate, you're only gonna do what naturally makes more sense. So if we're trying to lose weight or lose fat, if we don't even consider like the basic foundations of things. So when we're stressed out in general, I'm having a whole other tangent moment. We're coming back, I swear. We're not getting enough sleep. So this goes back to the irritability thing, right? We're trying to do whatever it takes. So hormonally, our brain is firing how it should be so we can feel better. Cool thing too, serotonin, it helps with our sleep as well. And then there's another neurotransmitter that our body produces too, specifically like in the rest digest state. So this vagus nerve again is really important. If that's a very strong like tonality, then rest and digest is going to be better. So then you can lose weight, yada, 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 yada. But GABA is another cool neurotransmitter that's created when we're in a restful state. And I like to view serotonin and GABA like they're complementary. So pretend we're in a car. I don't know, I was like, this is me driving a car. But serotonin's kind of like the brake pedal, right? Like you can ease into it. I can slowly fall into sleep. And then GABA is like the crank, like I'm pulling hard on the, what is this thing called? Boom. Shout out Nelly. Emergency brake. And so, yeah, if we're having a hard time sleeping and we're dysregulated, it all goes back. Everything is literally all connected. If we're not sleeping, we're not digesting correctly, that means hormonally things are off. That means digestion's off. It just all connects and it's just crazy. Okay, cool. I'm back on track. It was a complete tangent. I hope you found it very educational. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, take what you want, leave the rest behind, because this brain is a little cuckoo. All right. So when it comes to your gut and things are not operating and signaling correctly, one of the things that can happen is inflammation is going to occur, right? If we're eating a lot of carbohydrates, it can inflame the body, especially when we're not digesting it correctly. And this is where disorders happen. And so these are things like SIBO or IBS, for example, or some inflammatory diseases. And if we're going to talk about inflammatory diseases, we might as well talk about like the immune system, because constant low-grade stress does affect your metabolism, which is going to affect your immune system and your immunity and inflammation. Yeah, I'm repeating myself. I hope you get the drift. But if you are inflamed and 70-80% of the inflammation, or your immune system, I should say, sits in your gut, then if you're dysregulated, you're more likely to get sick. You're more likely to have a slower down metabolism. You're going to have more joint pain because it could be water retention and swelling. And you might have thyroid issues. So these are all kind of playing together. So if we're just talking about hormonal disruptors, right? And we kind of talked about this before. This goes back to the liver. Remember how the liver is kind of like an air filter? If you don't remember, check out the other episode I made about the liver and how that affects your weight loss too. But getting back to this. So hormones. The whole GI tract affects your hormonal production as well. So if your gut is if it's not working how it should, and it's not focusing, when you're dysregulated in general, right, and you're in fight or flight, your digestion is the last thing your body doesn't really care about that. And so the conversion of hormonal production is not going to be as solid. And I explain this more in my liver and thyroid video. I forgot I did both of those too. Check them out. So what's going to happen is just your hormones are going to be recycled throughout your body versus excreted. And so this goes back to, again, having progesterone issues, estrogen, thyroid, all these things that can affect your metabolism, which in return, it doesn't matter how much sleep you get, how much you train, how much you don't eat, if you sweat it out, if you take these herbs or pills or whatever, your body doesn't care, man. Your body's like, what are you doing? You're putting more stress on top of stress. We're trying to like chill you out, man. But since you're not chilled out, we're gonna slow you down until you get it right. So that was a lot. Anyway, it's gonna cause a lot of these issues. A lot of quote unquote autoimmune diseases, one, they affect women mostly because, like before, as I've mentioned, women don't handle stress as well as men. We're not made to be like, I'm gonna go save the day and fight off the bears and these evil people. No, we're not meant for that, okay? We're creative human beings, or just women are made to create and just to be here, sit, look pretty, and hee hee ha ha. Just kidding, we do more than that. But we're not meant to do a lot of things that men can handle. So stress affects us more, which is why more women have autoimmune diseases. Now, going back to autoimmune diseases and hormonal issues, a lot of the times they tie in together. I'll use myself an example. I have hypothyroidism, and it's quite fascinating because as a kid, it wasn't really an issue. And it was only until as I, funny enough, got away from home. As I started getting regular blood tests and checking things out, my thyroid levels got worse and worse and worse to the point where it was like 0.002. I wasn't making anything. And the doctors couldn't figure out anything, why they weren't increasing with thyroid medication, why my symptoms were just like really terrible and I couldn't sleep. And I just felt like I just got hit in the face 24/7 and it sucked. And besides the whole weight gain, and I can't poop. That's not fun. If you can't poop, man, that's like the worst thing ever. But I was looking at my lab reports and I wasn't understanding, because typically with your thyroid, it's an inverse relationship between your TSH, T3, and T4. There was no like one's up, one's down, thing. They were all down. So something was really, really off. And so I did a lot of research, and it turns out your thyroid can be affected on multiple levels. For a lot of people who have hypothyroidism, it's affected at this level, at their thyroid, like directly affects their thyroid. And that's more of a genetic thing. When it came to mine, it's actually my brain. Mine's affected, going back to the very first video that I made, at my HPA axis. And my HPA axis was not signaling to my pituitary glands to create TSH. Like, my body does not create any TSH. And so therefore I don't make T4, which means I can't convert T4 to T3, which means I really stressed my body out. And it wasn't just stress, it was trauma, not dealing with my emotions, all these things accumulated together. Long story short, what I'm getting is this hormone, even though it was pretty much zero, through regulating my nervous system and honoring my body for where it was at that moment in time, and giving it compassion and gently guiding it through this process now I take my clients through. Not only did my hormones slowly, or my thyroid levels, and my other hormones were affected because of it too, gradually increased, my symptoms decreased too. And so that was the main reasons why my hair started to grow again. I could poop. I could sleep. And then finally I can actually like lose weight, because the worst thing ever is having to buy new clothes when you're like, I don't need to buy new clothes because like I know what to do, but your body's not listening. And so what I'm saying is, I don't want to say you can fix hormonal issues, like, oh, poof, it goes away, but it can go into remission, especially if it's not genetic. And like things like adrenal fatigue, that kind of goes hand in hand too. All those things, like, you got to look at it as a whole. It's not, there's symptoms. You got to look at the symptoms, like what is the root cause and how can I fix it? So don't just accept that, like, hey, if I have this autoimmune disease or blah, 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 that's it. Like, no, unless it's genetic. Even if it's genetic, you could probably help the symptoms just by regulating your nervous system and just making fat loss or building muscle 10 times easier. So just remember that it's not failure on your part. That's your gut sending signals to your body saying, hey, it's overloaded and it's affecting your hormonal production, which is going to affect everything else. It's crazy. Okay, here's a part that almost nobody talks about, and I kind of hinted at it a little bit. So your emotions and spirituality. So stress, grief, fear, they don't just live in our cuckoo minds or our monkey brains. They land in your gut. So they change how your nervous system signals digestion, rest, all that stuff. And they keep you in fight or flight, which is shutting down absorption and elimination. So when you begin releasing these emotions, when you calm your nervous system down and actually reconnect spiritually, and that can be God or whoever your higher power is, the gut will slowly shift. And when the gut shifts, everything else you've worked on actually finally changes too. So it's one of those things where it doesn't matter what you eat or what you put into your body. You literally could be, what was that documentary, Super Size Me, proves this point exactly, that it doesn't matter what you eat. It only matters what you absorb. So you can be eating super, super clean or super, super bad. If your body's not absorbing it, it's just like, ugh, it's just holding it. And you're gonna feel constipated all the time. But your body's not gonna actually use those micronutrients to do what it needs to do for you to feel better, for you to lose weight. And one way I like to think of it is a cheerful heart is good medicine versus a crushed spirit dries up bones. Now, if you don't know what that means, in other terms, is how we carry our emotions doesn't just affect our mood, it affects our physical health as well too. So, you know, like I said, take what you want, leave the rest behind. It's what I believe, but what do I know? I'm just a personal trainer. And everything we've talked about, your gut, your hormones, your nervous system, only changes when you add movement too. So let me rephrase that too, because when you lose weight in general, it's two routes you can take. You can lose weight and then you quote unquote look skinny fat, or you can lose weight and then you can add movement into it and tone up, and then you can look like a sexy babe if that's what you want. So The right movement, think of this too, drives blood flow, it moves your lymph, and it lowers your cortisol, and it just resets your nervous system and causes you to burn more calories so your body can finally burn the fat, like I said, instead of storing it, and build muscle, which I highly suggest because that's long-term. Toning, great things, yeah. All right. So without movement, none of the others, things that you do, right? So if, let's say you fix your HbA axis and your thyroid function and your liver health and all these things, it really doesn't matter. You gotta include this piece to the puzzle as well, which is why I created my free 7-minute nervous system reset. Super cool, super easy, super short. It's a little routine that you can do like literally anywhere. And the whole point of it is it lowers your stress signals or your cortisol levels so that you can improve your digestion, and it just makes weight loss a lot better when your body's in more rest and relax versus fight or flight. And if you want that, the link is down below. And if you want more than just the starting point that I give to all of my clients, if you want the actual full customized experience that goes for your body, your lifestyle, where your nervous system is currently stuck at, and you just don't know what to do to, improve your vagus nerve or your nervous system and, how to make it stronger. That's what I do. So inside my online coaching, I will guide you step by step so you can lose weight, build muscle if you want to, and if you want to look toned and be really cute, sexy. Anyhoodles, lose weight, get out of pain, joint pain specifically, and finally feel good again. So that is in the link as well below. And I only work with so many people because there's only one me. So definitely do that because space is limited. But now you know how powerful your gut is for weight loss and why no amount of diets or workouts or supplements will work if your gut is overloaded. But here's the problem. Even if you heal your gut, balance your blood sugar, improve your liver, and even your thyroid function, fat loss will still stall if your sex hormones are out of balance. That's the final piece, guys, our sex hormones. And in the next video, I'll show you how estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all these cool little things that our body makes, and what it decides whether your body stores fat or finally lets it go so that you can stop spinning your wheels, get out of frustration, and actually see the results that you want. But if you haven't seen the other videos, watch them now because it's a lot and it's all gonna make sense and it's all gonna connect together. I'm gonna start from the top, go down to the bottom. But any hoodles, bye. I hope you had a fun time. You learned some things. Freaky fresh. Deuces.